And we are live. Hello, everybody.
Hello, Governor.
Welcome to 4 out of 6, or 2/3 of Taking Initiative for this episode of Talking Initiative, where we're going to be discussing episodes 11 and 12, where lots of stuff happened.
Where we did things.
Yes, we did things. Things happened. I just want to actually turn the audio
Where we did
on.
things.
Yes, we did things. Yes, okay, there is audio. I can hear it. We're good. So, Nick, you remember what happened? Since you're our designated go-to for describing episodes.
I don't, but I think I can work my way through this. Sorry, the hangover is really
but I think I
hurting
can
me
work
right
my
now, so
way
let's see
through
if we can
this.
get this going.
Nicholas.
I know I went to a wedding yesterday and I give it 110% every time, you know?
That's true.
And to my own fault.
You
know?
have to.
So that mean at your own wedding you're gonna give like 120? You gotta one up it. Nice.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Okay,
if
good.
I'm still able to walk the next day, I failed.
Okay,
I need to my feet need to be bleeding or something. 'Cause, but okay, so we were in the cave the last episode, in episode 10, and we were leaving the cave. But in episode 11, we were attacked by these giant ogres? Ogres,
Yeah.
yes. Okay, so we were attacked by these giant ogres, and we lured them outside, and Moose and Jeff were like attacking, and we were trying to take them down, and basically all of episode 11 is us battling these ogres, and we ended up defeating them and being victorious. Boom, check. Episode 11.
Done.
Whew. Okay, episode 12. Start of season 2? Start of arc 2?
Yes. This is the
Yes.
start of the second arc, yes.
Start of arc 2. So we had a bit of a time jump. At that point, we find out where everybody has gone. Mortimer and Surreal went to a place to go get soldiers to bring back to help Nightstone.
Do you remember what that place is called?
That place was called,
Nightstone Part 2.
yeah,
No.
it's Nightstone Junior.
It's
What a terrible city name.
East Nightstone.
has something to do with agua,
Oh,
and it's
Waterdeep.
there you go.
Waterdeep. Yes, they went back to Waterdeep.
I don't know. I kind of like East Nightstone.
They're expanding.
Zell went off on his own adventure, and then he came back.
Yeah,
Yep,
we'll go with that.
yep. And he came back. Moose, Barty stayed in town to like raise up the spirits of the people from Nightstone,
Mhm.
and Moose stayed close by but didn't want to be really part of the town too much. So she would like take on little missions here and there and hop back and forth. But that was where we've been. And then we pick up a month later,
6 months.
6 months later, and what happened?
All right. So we'll get back. We'll go back to the beginning, and we'll start
Yeah.
with episode 11. So yes, after you guys had basically discovered the villagers and basically did this whole plan of escorting them out and away from the danger and up onto the cavern ceiling, you watched as Snigbat did their thing and like became the new leader kind of thing, and then Snigbat was like, hey, everybody in the goblin cave is good, like the goblins are all fine, but those ogres though, the ogres are going to be problematic, so can you kill them? And you all were like, all right, fine. And then you did this little like sneak attack thingy. You're trying to figure things out. Moose was on the top trying to like snipe from the top of the cave, and like you guys kind of scattered about to get different like vantages and figure things out. And you realized there was two different ogres that were kind of like a mating couple, a male and a female. And you realized they had these like crazy looking contraptions that were like bolt launchers, like javelin bolt
right?
launchers
Yeah.
that like shot like huge javelins or like harpoons.
I thought you were gonna kill an animal. I thought you were gonna kill Jeff.
It was close.
When Jeff was running around.
It was very close.
I thought you were gonna do it.
was
And I was
pretty
like,
close.
oh no, we can't keep this thing going.
Spoiler for the rest of this season, for the rest of Storm King's Thunder, Jeff like doesn't attack anything. He's just like Moose is like have him under a blanket.
Hannah just got so close
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
losing him.
It's like, so
she
we're
was
fighting
like,
here.
"No."
Jeff is 5 miles away in like a bed, in a nice warm bed
Yeah.
under covers.
Yeah.
Um,
Must protect Jeff.
yeah. So the other thing that we discovered is we started getting little hints of your abilities, and you guys hit level 3 now. So obviously, like we didn't guess that Jeff was going to become Moose's animal companion, and also the Storm King. That like Jeff was going to be Moose's animal companion, and we got a little bits of like what Zell's abilities are, and Barty revealed that he was a College of the Maestro Bard. And then we got some cool weird things. Mortimer's going through some weird life crisis, trying to discover himself again, puberty part 2, and
second puberty is always hard.
it is real hard. And
You eat everything.
Surreal summoning lightning bolts and stuff from her body, which was kind of cool. So yeah, you kind of fought these ogres, kind of took them out, and talked to Snigbat afterwards. And Snigbat was like, "Hey, thanks. We'll make sure we don't eat people." And yeah, thanks.
I'm calling it right now. Snigbot is the final boss.
Interesting. Even
Snigbat is the Storm
no.
King.
I don't think Snigbat's the Storm King. I'm just saying that by the end of the story, Moose is gonna want to go back and take down Snigbat. So once we take on the Storm King, then she's got to go
I
back.
feel like you're
and
giving Snigbat
finish
too much
the-
of like a Jar Jar Binks vibe here, guys.
The epilogue, right? We learned that
You're
Snigbat
subscribing
has
way
been
too-
like,
Way too many things to this one random goblin.
listen, Moose has an agenda.
Or you go back and
Yeah,
you
it's called
realize
murder.
that the goblin, like Snigbat, has like raised the goblin colony up, and they're like a full-fledged settlement, and like
They have
they
a better
have a
city than
better
Nightstone.
system of government and like all that other stuff.
God damn it. I mean, it can't be hard. Nightstone is totally dysfunctional.
Yeah.
Well, also Nightstone is dead. So.
So yeah, you did that. Snigbat ended up giving you a present as a thank you, and then you guys went on your merry way and brought the villagers back to the Nightstone, and everyone was happy and great, and well, not really happy. A lot of people died. There was lots of death. So everyone was kind of mourning and grieving from all of their losses, and kind of picked themselves up and were like, "Oh yeah, okay, we'll figure things out from here."
Yeah, they didn't even know what to do when their leader died. They were just like, what's
Yeah.
going on?
The equivalent of like putting a horse under a blanket and it just like sits down and waits to die.
Yep, it's like this is my life now.
Yep.
we,
So, yeah.
we have no leader.
So the other things I have written down was that you guys got a bag of holding, which was great, very helpful. Moose,
Super useful.
Moose, you finally delivered that package that you got at the beginning of the game, which was nice. And we still don't know what What's real name is.
What?
Yeah.
What?
What the cat?
What?
What? Who? What?
What? Huh? So yes, that was the end of episode 11, and then episode 12, the beginning of the new arc, started with a 6-month time jump. So after Nightstone was rescued and saved, I decided to do, it's not in the book, but I decided to do this time jump thing to give everybody some time to kind of like get to know each other better and figure things out and kind of have some character growth and development over time. And despite all of you guys saying we hate Nightstone, we don't want to ever be here again, most of you were like, we're going to stay in Nightstone and help them fix them because there's a reason we should help these people.
Yeah.
So, except for Zell. Zell was like, I need to go on a spiritual quest and discover myself. Which, you know, sometimes you got to do that. Sometimes you just got to go wander around the world and see things.
Mm-hmm.
During that 6-month time, I gave you guys some personalized items. Like Barty got a anklet that makes people dance.
Love it. I love it.
Moose's Hannah's concerned about what's happening outside, I guess.
The person who lives upstairs has vacuumed their house, their apartment 3 times today.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
That's not
Sounds
right.
like they're covering
be
up a
one
crime
dirty
scene. You
film.
should barge in randomly and find out what was happening.
Not gonna do
Jacques!
that. I'm scared.
Where's the body?
So Hannah got a stone, or Jeff got a stone where Jeff can insult people, apparently.
Yeah, Hannah did not want to get that stone. She did not want it.
And
You personalized items for all of us
yeah,
out of the kindness of your heart.
I think
And
it was
Hannah
funny
just like,
because out of all of you, I know the least about Hannah because I've known Hannah for the shortest amount of time. So I was like, knowing what I know about Hannah, what would she appreciate
The
more?
freedom to insult
The freedom
people.
to insult people and get away with it. At least in game, because the amount of times people like deal with NPCs and it's just, ugh, this person, this fucking person.
It also, I think it will potentially have some uses later in the game. It's one of those things. It's like in the last episode, you're like, oh, this item will save us all.
Yeah. And then I gave Drew Urzel, the choker of the two ravens, which was basically a ask the DM any questions you want kind of thing. And yeah, and then Surreal got a hyena because Morgan's absolutely fucking obsessed with hyenas. And Josh got a ring of inconsistency because he's an editor. And I thought that would be really funny and kind of make him mad. Yeah, so then 6 months happened, and you guys decided as a group to go up north to Bryn Shander after hearing about more and more prevalent giant attacks that have been happening within all of Faerun. Kind of started with Nightstone that you heard about it, but as you kind of like wandered and like heard stories of travelers passing through, you discovered, oh, there's more and more giant attacks happening all over the place. Like, this is not good and is very strange because giants usually keep to themselves. And will rarely ever come out and like actually attack things like this. So you discover there's a town in the north called Bryn Shander in Icewind Dale, which Drew knows all about Icewind Dale because it's a very prevalent D&D. It's very prevalent in the Drizzt Do'Urden novels. It's kind of like where his entire story takes place. But I don't know how. I think he's in like Bryn Shander. I've only read a little bit of his actual exploits on the surface, but I think he's only in Bryn Shander for like a little while and then kind of go somewhere else. But yeah, Bryn Shander is this town in the north where they have potentially discovered some secret clue or mystery leading to information about the giants and maybe why they're attacking. So you as a group go and decide to, hey, maybe we go check this out. And you do. You head up to the north. And realizing that it's getting to be winter, it's like, hey, it's really cold and everything is super snowy. You're having some trouble with kind of getting there, and eventually you are Deus Ex Machina'd by a cloud giant named Zephyros, who is a friend of Barty's, who swoops in with his giant tower that is the most amazing-looking tower I've ever seen in my life. Swoops you guys up and then takes you over to Bryn Shander, where Zell happens to be there already in the office of the sheriff. You reconvene, and then he tells you, hey, this is what's going on. We found a big giant circular door up in the mountain in the north of here. Go check it out, see if you could discover anything, blah, blah, blah. So then you guys, Moose manages to convince the sheriff to get you guys free lodging, which you get free lodging for a night.
She didn't have to use the stone for that one.
No.
She was just like, no,
so then you get to the inn, you drop it off, and then you go, okay, shopping montage, and you all bet some furs. So you guys had the choice of wolf, yeti, or polar bear fur, and you decided which ones that you wanted to get. Zell specifically wanted a yeti that had the head on it, so he could have a head on his head.
Creepy.
Yep. And then
What? It's a Yeti onesie. Leave Zell alone.
it looks like it ate Zell. Just like,
Perfect.
help.
So then
Wait till I pull a prank where I lay in the snow and pretend to be dead.
So yeah, you guys do a little shopping montage. Jeff gets a little sweater, and then you guys rest for the evening. But before you do, in the marketplace, Barty gets bumped into by a mysterious figure. And after checking all of his stuff, making sure it wasn't a thief, you realized, okay, not a thief, but there's this note in my pocket that says, hey, come talk to me when you guys get back.
To be fair, we don't know that she wasn't a thief. Maybe she was just the worst thief and left something. Taking
True. So
Imagine being so bad at something, you just do the opposite every time. You're like,
so bad at it.
So then you got that note, you gave it to Mortimer. Mortimer was confused as to why you were giving him a note to meet him at night, and you were like, no, not for you. And then that's where that ended.
I'm here for the Mortimer Barty romance that's somehow coming.
Bartimer.
Yeah, I love it.
Hashtag Bartimer. So yes.
I can literally still picture or hear Joss say, Barty, stop grabbing my ass. When we were in the cave like 2 episodes ago.
So yes, that's exactly what happened. So tell me, how did you guys feel about going from the essentially what is the intro to this campaign of Nightstone and having this 6-month transition time that leads into what's to come?
I loved it. I mean, I love it. I love a good time jump. It definitely does give us the ability to take these characters that we've had a little bit of time with and kind of restructure them or and remold the relationships between all of us in a very quick way. You know, I feel like after we've come back from this 6 months, or between recording sessions, I think everybody kind of got a little bit more of a handle on how like Barty interacts with Moose and how Zell interacts with Mortimer. I feel like all of our characters really hit a stride.
Yeah.
It also just started like we just agreed, you know what, 6 months, we trust each other, we don't want to run off at every opportunity we can get. Yeah. I mean, Moose maybe. But yeah, it just solidifies us. So I love a good time jump.
Yeah, I definitely think that like it was a good instance of like seeing what would happen when 5 random strangers happen to meet at the same time, all in this area. Despite that, like maybe Mortimer and Surreal had a little bit of like past relationship together, but like seeing these 5 people meet together and then seeing what they do, and then over the span of 6 months how those relationships kind of develop to be a little bit more comfortable was kind of interesting to see, like what you guys came up with during that time. And then the idea of Zell kind of being like, I don't really know what's going on here, and I'm very much conflicted with myself. So I need to like be away from this for a while and kind of discover what's going on in the world, kind of thing.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense for Zell. I'm really happy that Drew like thought to be like, all right, well, Zell's gonna go off on his own, because that's exactly, I feel like, what Zell would do. Mm-hmm. It would be so much easier to be like, oh, Zell hangs out with the rest of the group and does this thing, but no, for actual character wise, like that was a really good call, Drew.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to talk about the lost tapes?
The lost tapes? I mean, sure, why not?
I almost killed the entire party.
No.
No.
We did a recording. It was after the Seven Snakes thing and before the cavern. We did a little recording. We did a recording session where there was something else that happened that's in the book. But after recording it and doing the session, we kind of realized that it was not a great session, and not very fun to actually do. It was just kind of like 3 hours of unnecessary combat that really didn't happen. So we kind of just nixed the whole thing and went back and redid everything.
Yeah, and I brought that up in conjunction with this time skip because I think like that was like 2 sessions. Like those 2 sessions made it very obvious like what kind of game we were playing. Mm-hmm. And like what we wanted to focus on. And I think the time jump really like lended itself to establishing that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and especially, and even during that time, I'm pretty sure Bucky was saying to us like, "Hey, everyone, what do you guys want this campaign to be more like?" Yep. It's like, yeah, when you're following an already written thing, you're kind of limited to doing what somebody else has decided. But I love that Bucky took a second to be like, "All right, you know what? If everyone's not liking this perfectly, I could do my own thing." And I mean, Bucky, I think you've added so much to the story already, well, So yeah, it's really awesome.
It took a little bit of a realization because like I have ran a campaign in the past, but it was my own personal campaign that I was homebrewing and making up on the spot. But this is the first time I'm actually running a game from the book. So it took that. I had to take a second to kind of step back and realize, oh, okay, I don't have to go exactly everything from the book. Like this is exactly what happens in the world. I can take the things I like about the book and kind of everything else that I don't either just slip to the side or alter it in a way that makes sense for what's happening or gives more context to something that's going to happen in the future that I kind of like. So I will say a little bit of a spoiler alert. What's to come is entirely homebrew and from my own head. I'm not going to say what it is yet because I'm going to let you guys figure that out for yourself. But I did alter and change a lot of things in the book so far to kind of make the story more so about the characters and what they discover and have them have that realization rather than here's the story and you guys are just in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really well done.
So Zell, what exactly, we never really went in depth about what he decided to do during the time of when he was during the 6 month of like kind of just exploring and figuring things out. And I know we kind of talked about it a little bit of like, oh, Zell goes to this place and kind of has this interaction with these people where he sees like bad people kind of doing the right thing, and then this other instance of people that should be doing right or doing wrong. How do you think that like kind of really reflected on Zell as a person, considering like him being in Nightstone is the first town he walked into after basically being in a sheltered life for so long?
Yeah, I always forget that.
I mean, it's definitely a confusing thing. I feel like that he probably saw all of this, and it's still something he's struggling to realign in his head, that good and evil are more fluid concepts than you might necessarily imagine. So what he grew up knowing is not necessarily the only answer to anything.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I think he's still struggling with it, but when he met back up with the party 6 months later, he was less on these are a bunch of crazy murderers side of things.
Yeah.
Except for maybe Moose. Moose was a little way too gung-ho to kill all of those goblins.
Yeah.
And there's also something that happened. God, I wish we could just release that episode now. Where Moose and
Let's release all the episodes.
Well, I mean, no.
Y'all can edit all that like tomorrow.
So
right?
tomorrow, just release future content that we don't have. We have not recorded. Figure that part out.
No.
Drew, do you think
that's a lot of work?
Drew, do you think Zell consciously rejoined the party, or do you think he just happened to be there when and then all of a sudden these other people that he was trying to get away from just walking is like, I don't know, I guess I can't get away from them?
I mean, I feel like he wasn't necessarily intending to join up with this group again, but when they showed up and he had set off on this his own little line, he figured, all right, I guess they're not so bad.
Mm-hmm.
I don't actually know if they're bad or not.
I also don't know the degree to which the archivist is like meddling in everything, and
That's
like how
also
much
true.
influence the archivist has.
Yeah.
Archivist is the true BBEG.
Yeah, you really haven't
Snake Batman.
You haven't really like that wasn't really the first thing that you guys decided to do when you met up for the first time. You're like, "Oh, Zell, you're here. Where's that fucking book?" Like, I was waiting for that to happen, honestly, but no, it was just, "Hey, we got to do a thing, so we're back together. Let's do this thing together." But yeah, it
He
was
is the puppet master.
Throw into the ocean. Fuck this
and
book.
we are nothing but his pawns.
So yeah, that was kind of interesting to see how you guys would not only figure out what developed with your characters over the 6 months, but to like rejoin again after the 6 months and see that interaction of like, oh, we haven't seen each other for a while. Obviously, you've been going through some things. You look a little bit different, but like, I don't really know. I only have this interaction with you 6 months ago, so I don't know exactly what's to come with you yet. But yeah,
You're mostly harmless.
yeah.
You're probably not going to ruin my whole life.
The whole life, maybe just like a very short portion.
A
of it.
year or two, yeah.
It's a lot of watching. Do I have to worry about them murdering everyone in their sleep? You know,
Yeah.
my whole goal. Oh, cat.
Kitty.
My whole goal is to ruin everyone's game experience.
I'm really concerned for when Zell finds out or comes to the conclusion that we're all evil. Like, what happens when Zell looks at the party and is like, "These are terrible people. I'm gonna kill them all." Do you think that, or would Zell just run away?
And that's how Zell developed PTSD.
Yeah.
I mean,
Honestly.
the question is, how evil would Zell think you are? Would it be better? Would the world be better served by killing the evil in front of him or leaving?
Leaving, yeah.
That's fair.
That's a good point. Good point. I
Um,
hope we never see that happen.
So then, also shopping
Too
montage.
fast.
Shopping montage.
Shopping montage. Who doesn't love a good shopping montage?
Travis Willingham.
Travis Willingham does not like a good shopping montage. Really?
Oh yeah. Especially in the first campaign, you would just see him sitting at the table like,
Well, that's because I know his pain, and that's because when you make a character whose whole thing is, I have everything I need, and what I need is a big thing to hit things with.
yep.
Shopping montages where all the other characters are like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm gonna get this bag of ball bearings. I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna make a trap." And you're just like, I just need to hit
smash.
something.
Yeah.
Like, give me something to punch.
I mean, that was the blatant like difference between you guys and basically Josh and Morgan, because they were just like, "Yeah, I'll just get like a coat and I'm good."
Yeah.
And you guys are like, "I want this thing. I want to get this little thingy for my beak. I want to get the thing with the head."
I mean, if you're not careful, you're gonna end up interacting with the game with one button, and that button is gonna be punch.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
I can
that's
do
fair.
this, and that's it. You have to
Sorry.
give yourself. Yes.
Yes, Hannah.
No, sorry, I wanted you to finish. I just wanted to establish.
You got to give yourself other things to interact with, even if it means grabbing dumb things that will not affect your actual gameplay. Granted, it's not system mastery, but you got to give yourself something to do.
Mm, yeah.
Or anytime the rest of the party's having fun, you're just gonna be like,
Yep.
oh.
Okay, so Hannah.
Okay, Bucky, I'm glad you brought up the beak thing.
Okay.
Nick, how does he eat? Does the crochet go like over the entire beak? Is there like a bit like a bridle that goes in the mouth? Like these are
okay.
the important questions that I need answers to.
Very good point. Very good point. Okay, so I would think any big meals, he would take the beak off to then eat.
His whole beak.
No.
Oh God, he's gonna get the
cover.
face under it.
Yes. It's gonna unscrew the beak.
So
No,
Barty
no.
McFly is actually a human with just a really
He's a
elaborate
potato
furry
head.
costume.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think that for long journeys, when he needs to have the beak warmer on, he just fills it with like maybe like goldfish.
Oh my God, the
Graham
top beak
crackers.
that hangs down.
Yeah.
is really
Cranberries.
Yeah, just like a little snacks, just to like.
So it's
Have you ever
so
seen
like
like?
the plague doctor, except instead of herbs and shit in the nose, it's just munchies.
Yes,
I
exactly.
I imagine it floppy
few
like
pretzels.
like a turkey waddle.
Yeah, Kit says it's a feed bag. You have a feed bag.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
Just walks
Oh,
around
that's
just
incredible.
full of snacks.
Oh, what would the like Faerunian equivalent of goldfish be?
Goldfish.
Just goldfish?
Just actual
Anchovies.
Just regular
It'd be
goldfish.
just dried fish.
Yeah, true. That's fair.
with a sprinkling of cheese on it.
Yeah.
Ugh.
That won't hold for long. Never mind. Oh God.
Ugh.
No, that would get gross really fast, and it would just smell awful.
Luckily,
then-
we're in like the tundra, so it's not like it's gonna go bad.
And I say that because, okay, like non-stinky cheese is basically like a thing from like you have to have certain things to make that. Stinky cheese is easier to make,
That's fair. That's
which
fair.
means it's probably dried fish and stinky cheese.
Why would you say something so
Disgusting.
controversial? But yes.
But yet so correct.
Party has like a 20-foot radius around him at
No
all times.
one
No,
wants to
nobody
bite.
wants to go anywhere near him. He's
Yeah.
like, these snacks are delicious. I don't
Now, why do you think Flock Brown's never around?
It's true.
It's the snacks. We've cracked the case.
Yeah. So then the episode ended with Barty being bumped into by some mysterious figure and handing off a note. So there's some kind of fishy, no pun intended, mysterious things happening with Barty, and everyone was kind of like, "Why is Barty getting the attention? Huh? What's so important with him?"
Yeah. I don't know. The thing is, I've listened to the upcoming episode, so I'm trying my hardest not to overshare.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. There's a lot.
but,
There's a lot that's going to kind of like rapid fire happen all at once with the next
Mm-hmm.
few episodes, and it's gonna be fun. And
Yeah,
I'm
I mean-
excited for everybody to see it because we've been
Yeah, we're
holding
really
up to
like
it for
hitting
a
our
while.
stride right now.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, it was just so much fighting, in the beginning with the whole town and trying to figure out everything. But then the story really does change from Nightstone to our actual long narrative storyline once we start arc 2. We start heading towards solving the big story.
right. It was actually interesting that I ended up deciding to put Nightstone in the podcast because I didn't want to just skip right past it. But technically, you could, if you wanted to, just start the game at this point, and then just you guys getting to whatever the next town is, and that could be where the game starts. And I was talking to, I believe, Sage from the Adventure Maidens was also running this campaign, and she was going to be doing a stream with it. I'm not entirely sure if she's actually still doing that or not. But the entirety of the Nightstone sequence she handled off stream, and was just like, it was just them playing it and like figuring out what that whole thing was and establishing those relationships so that when the game actually started, that was all there. They had those connections and they just started the game there. But I wanted to have that in there and have that whole portion of the game solidified because I wanted you guys to meet and have that and have the audience be able to see those initial reactions of the characters meeting and then how those relationships kind of develop over the course of the entire game, more or less. Which I think
totally
is
get
going to
that.
be really, really cool once people start kind of seeing what's going on in your guys' heads and kind of starts learning more about you guys. I think that reflection of going back to the beginning and being like, oh, look how far they've come will be very prevalent and really, really cool to see.
Yeah, I love episode 12 because it definitely feels like just you can hop in right there and still get the gist of all of our relationships and stuff, but everything leading up to it just really enhances how we continue with the story.
Yeah.
So
Definitely. So that's the halfway point. We only have one question, and then after we answer this question, we're gonna do something a little fun. Because
all right,
with Josh and Morgan not being here, we're gonna do something cool. So
I didn't prepare for fun.
don't worry about it. It's easy. I'm gonna open.
I didn't sign up for fun.
I'm gonna open up Discord really quickly and pull up that question from. I believe it was from Kit. Come on, Discord. Please do the do. And vamping. Bop it up, bop. Talking initiative questions. So, from Kit, what would your characters dress up as for Halloween?
Whew.
I saw this question. I was like, Hannah, you have to figure something out in the next like 24 hours. You got to do this. Did not do it. I think Moose, like on principle, would reject the idea of dressing up for Halloween because she's already fucking scary. Like she's already hit all of the Halloween bases. But also she's a 19-year-old girl, so she'd probably dress up as like Sailor Moon or something.
I love it. What would Barty dress up as?
Elle would definitely dress up as Lino from the Thundercats.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Coming fucking at me.
Kit says Goth Sailor Moon.
Ooh.
Sailor Goth.
Sailor Saturn.
Sailor Saturn, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely Saturn.
The murder sailor.
I mean, I feel like with Barty's beat cover, he would just straight up be Toucan Sam.
He could be Toucan Sam, but I would love the idea. I just got this image of my head of Barty dressed up in the sparkly Rocket Man outfit that Elton John wears with like the baseball cap and the baseball outfit. And
The
he's
more
really
sequins, the better.
good. Mhm.
Oh,
Yes.
God, absolutely.
Either Toucan Sam or Elton John in Rocket Man.
Toucan Sam as Elton John.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Double air
A
costume.
double costume.
One that has to be explained no matter who looks at it. They're like,
Every person you run into.
what are you?
Yeah, Kit's like, you mean he doesn't wear that already? Like all the time, at all times? Yeah.
That's a really good question. Does Barty constantly have like a rhinestone outfit on?
Oh,
Does
without a
Barty
doubt.
wear clothes?
He's got some. I think he's got
Yes.
some costumes for performance purposes.
Yes, he
Yeah.
does. He wears clothes. He wears pants and I think like a vest. We have it. We have it.
Yeah. And
Of
now,
some sort.
Oh, yeah,
now a
his
big
little,
poofy fur coat.
Now a big the
That's
skirt and
from-
the beak.
Abu.
But yeah, I think part of the things I get as a character are like costume outfits or
yeah,
like
as a
different
bard.
Oh no, wait, that
So-
was Zell. Zell had the Abu vest.
Yes, Zell has
All of
the
these
Abu
animals
vest.
as
we
their
all said
clothes.
Abu.
No,
in
Zell
sequence
flat
order.
out looks like Abu, but in like
Yeah.
a cat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, giant cat. But yes.
Yeah, giant cat.
I keep forgetting that tabaxis are like really tall and lanky. I always pictured
Super
Zell
tall.
as like short for some reason, but yet I saw a picture of a tabaxi and I'm like, oh my god.
Well, it's because I mean, when he described him, I believe he said he's usually like hunched over.
He's like hunched over
Into
and kind of like
himself.
walks around real low.
Well, I mean that's because he has a giant book on his back.
Yeah,
Yeah, but he
should-
stands up. He's 7.5
good.
feet tall.
He's in
not good for your
perpetual
posture.
Skyrim sneak mode. He's just constantly like sneak.
He's
you
gonna
want-
hit 80 and just like his spine is gonna disintegrate. Just
Do you want to go into a tavern with a 7.5 foot tall skinny cat person?
Yeah, I was actually. That's another question.
Weird.
After the 6 month time, is like after doing all that walking with the book on his back, how like thick are his legs now? Like his thigh muscles like ripped and shredded.
Oh, let me tell you. People look at his thighs and then go, "Oh yes."
Damn. Thick thighs save lives.
So I don't really
Wait,
have a
what did-
character that would dress up for Halloween, but Kella would dress up like a prisoner because she's in jail.
Boom.
She's in jail now and forever.
Kit said Chun Li Zell, and I kind of want to change my answer now to
Oh
Chun-Li.
my god, yes!
Jeez.
Just
Kind of really.
Cat
That's the
Chun-Li
new
with
official
the
answer.
huge, like thighs
Massive
bigger than your
thigh.
head.
yeah.
So I'm stealing that Kit, and I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry.
Oh God, that's really good.
Will we still be releasing episodes by Halloween of next year?
Oh yeah, we're gonna be this one. This one's
Yeah,
gonna be
right?
going for a while. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So then whoever can, let's get that artwork going. We got costumes down. We just gotta get Mortimer and Surreal to figure out what they would dress up as. I want to see it now. I want to see Chung Li, Zelly.
Deli. Jesus Christ.
That's good. So
I'm gonna say I kind of feel like Mortimer would do like that thing, like the bare minimum kind of costume thing, though.
Mhm.
Like just
Fonzie
be
costume.
3-hole punch. Mortimer.
yeah, 3-hole punch Mortimer, like that kind of thing. Where it'd just be like, it's good enough, right? I guess, yeah.
I don't know what Surreal would do, but I think she actually said it in the chat, but I'm not gonna reopen Discord because I already closed it.
Oh, I think she said like John McClane.
Oh yeah, John McClane. She said John McClane or Brendan Fraser from The Mummy. Which I'm like, okay.
Oh my
cool.
god, I need to watch those movies.
So what I wanted to do for fun, since Perception Check is usually a show that we do where it's just in person, the three of us, because we can just slap down a microphone, record it, and we don't have to worry about it. I wanted to bring one of the topics we discussed on Perception Check to you guys, because Perception Check is about different perspectives and having a different perception of what's around you. So
I like it.
I wanted to bring the topic of in-game relationships to all of you guys and kind of discuss how you go about it. And not just like kissy-lovey relationships, like any type of relationship, friendships or acquaintances or like rivalries, like in-game, how you handle them, what's good, what's bad, when do you know to take it too far, that kind of stuff. Like, how do you guys feel about establishing those relationships, and how do you usually go into a game with that in mind, like thinking of the relationships you guys are going to have in the party or otherwise?
Straight up, that's one of my favorite things about role-playing games to me. Like, I really enjoy the like Apocalypse World games, and those games are entirely built on the relationships that you have with other characters. I think there's a certain measure of trust that you have to have
Yes.
in the people who are at the table with you, especially if it's a game where you know that that's going to be like a heavy part of it. Because I don't really have any like hard rules when it comes to my characters. Like, if I show up day one, that's where I am, and like this character is going to be as much influenced by the people around me as they will be by me. So I don't really care if things go like too far, because I already know that the people that I am playing with have like that relationship focus as well, and they're not going to be doing anything like wildly out of character or
Right.
I don't know. It's my favorite part. I love it. I
Yeah.
could talk about this for 400 hours.
There was definitely one of
Write
those
you a thesis.
one of those things that we talked about when we actually recorded the Perception episode was that level of comfortability and
Yeah.
if like being able to talk about it outside of game, being like, hey, this may be something that my character is interested in, or like my character at some point, like between my character and your character, there might be something like with my character that I might be interested about your character, and like having that line of knowing like something might happen, and is that okay? Ensuring that consent above all is good at the table, like making sure everyone is comfortable and having a good time, because this game is meant to be having fun and having a good time. And just like examples, like even using from Strahd, the relationships between just for my personal experiences, Ven and Kent, of like in the beginning they were more or less acquaintances, and they were just kind of like work partners, but towards the end of that game, like they got through a series of primarily just death around them, becoming like really good friends, because they were the ones that kind of survived the entire experience. And also a relationship with Ven and Ferguson. There was a lot of contention there, and like when Drew and I went back and forth with that episode of like, there was a big argument of us going back and forth, and we got in a fight in game. Afterwards, we had to stop and go, okay, breathe. We don't hate each other. Everyone's fine. We're all friends. Please don't.
Dude, I remember that. 'Cause I was literally like this. I was like, oh no, we about to break up the podcast right now.
But like, no, it was that good time of
No, it was
being
good.
like, it's important to have that reminder of like, hey, this is a game. We're acting out characters. This is what the characters would do in that moment, and it's important for the characters to do this. But outside of game, we're all still friends. We're having a good time, and it's a lot of times good to explore those sides of a character, and not everything's going to be happy honky-dory all the time. There's going to be lots of contention, and it's okay to explore that as long as everyone realizes it's a game.
It's also kind of interesting navigating the like coming to the table and knowing what you want for your character and their relationship with another character, and maybe not even being able to articulate that appropriately. I mean, it's like, how do you play a character with like a 20 wisdom stat when you're a fucking idiot?
Right.
You know, how do
Yeah.
you manage this relationship if you suck at managing relationships?
Yeah.
So like, do you prepare all of that beforehand? Do you just like let it happen naturally? I don't know. I don't know.
It's tough. I feel like I have a hard time. 'Cause Bucky, you are totally right with Kent and Ven starting off as one thing, but then growing into friendship. But I always find myself having such a hard time with longer campaigns starting off in a place where where my character doesn't know everybody. Because for example, for this game, I'm friends with all of you, and I really enjoy talking and hanging out with you. So to have Barty not be friendly to everybody, it just like it's hard for me to make that disconnect.
Right.
But I love to see it grow from wherever it starts. You know, even if Barty himself doesn't really know everybody, and I'm trying to work through that, I love to see how my own friendships with you guys start to really come into the characters with each other. And you know, Barty and Moose get along really well, and you know, Barty and Zell are animal bros. But it's just like I love these two people, so it's just super easy for me to be like, okay, well, my character also loves them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I got to get better at that, but
I would love to
Yeah,
play a
we all
game
are.
where like the entire party hates each other. You know what I mean?
yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that's I mean, you could do an evil campaign where they all hate each other, but even doing like
Yeah.
a normal campaign where the party's just like, I don't want to do this with you, but I have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like finding the relationships in there, like when the impetus is, I hate all of these people, but who do I actually end up making friends with?
Yeah.
It's PBS.
Well, I mean, Moose did not want to be friends with a single one of us
Nope.
at the
No.
beginning, you know, like, and so it's interesting to see Moose
Stockholm
still
syndrome.
around.
It
you
was
know?
it was
like,
Moose and Jeff, Moose and Jeff, Moose and Jeff, and then it became Moose and Jeff, but also sometimes Barty.
yeah. And then it's like, oh, okay. And then Mortimer and Surreal, like, I guess. Oh, Zell. Oh, okay. I don't want to. I'm gonna try to pretend I'm okay, but I'll
No
be
one's
back.
friends
But
with Zell.
that's
It's fine.
that's definitely that
He's a very
idea
weird
of Moose still being a teenager and trying to figure things out.
Mhm.
There's a lot of discovery happening within this game. But I'd actually be really interested to hear what you have to say, Drew, because you actually deal a lot more with, I would say, like Powered by the Apocalypse systems, which are very heavily relationship based, and a lot of games that heavily rely on either the friendship or the relationship between characters happening for the kind of the story to progress in a way.
Having not played that, can you also explain why they are more based on relationships?
I can attempt to, and I can attempt to do it in one answer. So
Damn.
in a game like D&D, where much of your impetus is, I mean, let's be fair, I love D&D. D&D is also basically just it's kind of a combat simulator.
It's combat
Sure, you and I are
strategy, yeah.
like right there together on this.
It's so much a combat simulator.
It very much is.
And it allows you, I mean, you can role play it and stuff, but it allows you, the impetus of the game of moving it forward is combat. It's pretty much always punching stuff. You can do some social stuff in it, but it's really about, I'm gonna punch that thing until it does what I want it to do.
Mhm.
Whereas Powered by the Apocalypse, and my reason for really liking relationships in games is, look at any story. Any story will have, it'll have combat, it'll have conflict and whatnot. But one of the things that drives conflict in people and makes conflict seem so much more stake heavy is the relationship between characters.
Mhm.
Interpersonal dynamics are such a big important thing. You know, saving someone that you hate carries more weight than just being like, well, if I save you, I'll have more power to fight this monster, versus like, I really hate this person, but I can't let them die because that would be bad.
Yep.
As me, a person, would be bad.
It's also super compelling. Like you go and kill a dragon. Cool.
cool. You
Oh.
get your gold, and you go back to town, and you spend your gold, and then you go out and kill another dragon.
Right.
But you and the dragon like have history. Y'all have beef. Like,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
Gotcha. It's just that added
love
element that really enhances it.
interpersonal conflict, and I will attempt to drive it in any situation, which is also part of, and not in a mean way, part of the way I play Zell on purpose. I kind of want him to be a kind of abrasive character in a way. Like I would say he's definitely lovable, but it's also like, what are you doing here? You don't belong in this spot.
Do not go up those stairs.
I'm gonna go up the stairs. But like, so I'm like, I like to drive interpersonal conflict in a lot of ways, and I also like having things like interpersonal relationships. Like, you know, have the smoochy kind of relationship in game. Just don't get weird about it, people.
Yeah.
Or get weird about it, but like do it in your own house.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
If you're both consenting to get weird about it, go for it. I don't care.
like
Just don't do
recording.
it at the table with like 8 people.
Yeah, or like on a microphone where the entire world will eventually hear it. Don't do that.
Yes,
Not
don't
on
do
microphone.
that. But seriously, like, give yourself, build character relationships, because it will drive the story to a deeper level. Now, I will say, if you just want to play a combat simulator, please go for it. Don't let anyone tell you how to play a game. But if you're looking for depth to your story and to get people to connect to it, and you're not feeling connected to it, find character relationships. Even if it's with NPCs, those will make your story actually come to life. And as Kit said in the chat, like the interpersonal stuff of PBTA it drives the story in a lot of ways, and it does, because sure, you might be fighting a monster, but what's more compelling, just fighting a monster or fighting a monster and also having a very serious relationship chat with your significant other?
Drew, will you talk about how that works in PTBA? So like what are they called? Like connections or
So yeah, I mean, it kind of depends on the different game itself, but I'll use masks. That's the most family-friendly version I could come up with right now.
Some of them are a little.
We won't talk about Monster Hearts, even though I love it very much. In masks, you have influence on characters, and that influence says that character thinks a lot about what you say. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're in a relationship. It just means that character looks up to you in some way. So if you tell that character to, fuck off, you're being a jackass, that's going to be so much more weighted than if someone just random told them that.
Right.
And it is a metric for a thing. It is a mechanical metric for something that you could arbitrarily decide on your own. Be like, oh, my character really looks up to their character, so that has more weight to me. But it allows it to be mechanically influenced in the way that you can spin these influence tokens to force rolls and make a character have to kind of really think about backing down from their stance they're in. And it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It really makes you like think about the conflict you're driving in between all the other things.
I mean, one of the
Also,
best.
I gotta play more masks.
One of the best examples I can kind of think of that, like, it really, like, it's a very used one and everyone kind of knows it, is the Spider-Man, the very classic Spider-Man holding by the webs Gwen Stacy and the bus of just, like, a whole bunch of civilians and Gwen Stacy. Like, that scene would not have been as powerful if it wasn't Gwen Stacy. Like, the love of his life. If it was just some random person, it would not have had the weight it is. But because of that relationship of this being this girl that he's in love with, that makes the scene that much more emotional and invests you that much further into it.
Very good point. But he ends up saving both. Spoiler alert. But
Also,
Because he's a
side note,
superhero. Duh.
having your characters get into full-on relationships is great, because it will do insane things to your game.
Yes.
Like, not in bad ways. You will just get into real weird spots. Like in mild plug, in the Corpses and Curios side games of Masks, my character is flirting / trying to flirt with one character while another one tries to flirt with him, and
Love triangle.
it's this weird love triangle of constantly like trying to like, being an awkward teenager and like not knowing what you're doing, but you're also trying to save the world and being like, but that's the person that I want.
All of my hormones.
Yeah, it's just like I don't know how to handle this.
Yeah.
Uh,
But Polish actually said something in the chat that very much I agree with, which is that D&D very much is a combat simulator, but people over time have kind of added extra to it to make it have
yeah.
more emotional investment. And that's a big proponent of what I'm trying to do, because Storm King's
Yeah.
Thunder in general, flat out, it's a combat simulator. Like, it's built around the idea. The game is more or less built around the idea of a bunch of people around a table with a grid map and playing the strategy game, which is it's just great. If you want to have that strategy aspect and play that game, absolutely. But for a podcast like we do, where a lot of it is about the characters and emotional investment and what's happening, like really taking the moments in the book that are about like introducing interesting NPCs or like introducing interesting scenarios onto the character and seeing how everyone acts in those moments is more important than actually doing the fights and what's happening.
Yeah, and like as you said, it is a combat simulator that people have added to.
Yeah,
and they have because, and I'm gonna say that part of the reason they really added to it, and then again, it's really not a bad thing. It's just a commentary.
Yeah.
For a while, D&D was so saturated in the market that was the game. That was the game everyone played.
Yep.
I mean, it's kind of getting back to that point, which is a good and bad thing, but we're not going to talk about that. But it meant that if somebody wanted a game and D&D wasn't fitting the bill, they modded it, they homebrewed it, they added stuff. And to some degree, it kind of changed it as D&D evolved along with the players. But I mean, don't try to necessarily mod D&D to play a game,
right?
Which there are a lot of games out there that will meet what you're after. If you're after a game that's really about relationships, D&D is not it. There are a lot of games that are literally telling the story about just interpersonal conflict or, just the relationships. Like Ribbon Drive's a cool game, like a cool concept. You guys
love
played
Ribbon
that.
Drive.
And it's literally about a group of characters going on a road trip
Yeah.
and discovering things. And that, I mean, if you're just about like, oh, I want to capture this feeling of these characters kind of like their last big summer or whatever,
Yeah.
that would be a game better than D&D, because D&D you'd have to make D&D not effective, but to make D&D long-term enjoyable, you'd likely either have to have a group that's just like, yeah, it's just going to be social combat and chit chat and the occasional die roll, or every time you stop for gas, you can be fighting goblins.
Yeah. Side note, I would absolutely love to play Ribbon Drive with the TI crew, but definitely off camera because copyright purposes. Because you have to basically you make a Spotify playlist of songs based around a theme, and then you share that playlist with everybody, and then it's a game about more or less a group of friends going on a road trip together for some reason. So when me, Josh, and I believe, Morgan was there, and we played it with Lauren Peterson from Nerds on a Roll. We all decided that we were a group of hippies that were traveling from, or not really hippies, but like we were in California. I was born and raised in California, going on a road trip across the country to go to Woodstock. And it was like the first ever Woodstock that we were all going to go together. So it was the entire story. The music actually kind of enhances the storytelling. Like the music and the song that are playing, you kind of build your characters around the music that's playing, and then you start the story, and then the first song kind of builds the scene for you, and you kind of just go back and forth, narrate what's happening, get into conflict with certain people. Like you can call in friends to be like, hey, I want you to be a part of the scene with me, and I want to do this thing together. And we kind of sculpted this entire story on the spot of like, this is just what these people experienced on their way to Woodstock, and then you see where you started from in the beginning and then where you ended up at the end, and just letting that music drive your scene from scene to scene is so much fun and so liberating, and I would love to do it with you guys.
I want to play it.
We will. We absolutely will.
I know. I
We
just googled it, and it's like you have to buy the PDF.
Oh, I can get a copy of it. I think I have a copy of it somewhere.
I want to play.
We should seriously consider just doing like a TI spinoff of like new and interesting
Extra stuff, yeah.
Yeah,
It'll be fun to do.
different rule sets, different modules, different games.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we can keep doing long-term 5e games, but I've loved every one-off game that we've played that isn't,
Yeah,
D&D.
absolutely.
Every single time you guys show me a new game, I'm like, oh my god, it's a game for my life. I love it.
Just want to play the Horny Apocalypse game.
Yeah, we definitely do
Don't
want
play
to
that
play that. It just all takes time, and also for releasing purposes, it takes time to edit.
Right.
You don't
Yeah.
want to play the Horny Apocalypse.
You don't want to play the Horny Apocalypse game?
Speaking as someone who's run the Horny Apocalypse,
Okay, it's
game
called
multiple
Powered by the
times,
Apocalypse, not Horny by the Apocalypse.
Drew, will you run the Horny Apocalypse game?
I will run the Horny Apocalypse game.
Wait, is that the
Let's
one with the
say-
monsters or the one with the people?
I mean, they're all pretty horny. Like, all of those
All?
games are pretty horny.
Okay. First time I ever played Monster Hearts, it ended with a blood orgy. So
Blood orgy.
buckle up,
What?
everyone. It was not meant to.
I mean, isn't that always what everything ends up turning into?
Yep.
But I'll run it. It'll be weird.
It's always weird. So yeah, any other last comments on relationships in game that anybody wants to bring up?
I'm really glad Kent didn't get into a relationship.
Ooh.
Yeah. I don't know how I would have handled it.
I was actually there was something I was going to mention before, is that we haven't really in our group explored that idea of characters being attracted to each other in some way. I mean, briefly with like
everyone's
Callista
attracted to Barty.
and Ferguson, but like, not. I mean, yeah, of course, everybody loves Barty.
don't
Okay,
know.
so
Everybody thinks
spoiler,
he's
brief
sexy.
spoiler, brief effective spoiler. Morgan and I were talking about it before I decided that Moose was like 19 years old and had no idea what was happening.
Mhm.
So
Mm.
there will be some lesbians
Yes.
eventually,
Yes.
just not these lesbians.
Yes.
The way you
Welcome
said that just kind of sounded vaguely threatening.
There will be
lesbians.
Lesbians. Like, okay, I wasn't arguing.
But yeah.
I'm fine with that.
But it's really something that we haven't really gone into too much, of like characters being like attracted or into each other and having that type of relationship in game. And I guess it's just something that's never really come up with these characters. It's never really been a drive to like, I don't know, you kind of see these characters and you kind of get the sense of like, oh, my character's this way. I don't know if I could foresee that type of relationship with these other characters that are around me. Maybe
I know,
except
I'm
for
just thinking
Moose's
about
like massive
how-
crush on Surreal, but that's different.
Now I'm just thinking about how Aarakocras have sex.
Oh, they do it diving down at
They swoop
speeds of
In the air?
like 300 miles per hour.
Ooh.
It's really,
So it's like
That's
an X
stressful.
game.
That's
All
so
sex is an
stressful.
X game.
yeah, it's basically
Huh.
like
Yeah.
either you finish or you die kind
Yeah.
of thing. So
Wow.
And if you're really lucky, both.
both.
Either that or it's like it's a swooping game. You have to go all the way down and try and get as close to the ground as you can before getting back up. It's dangerous. It's real dangerous. So
Speaking of birds, I downloaded Planet Zoo. I'm obsessed. What's everybody else playing?
what am I playing right now? I'm in the middle of playing Final Fantasy 12 and Nier Automata at the same time.
Aw. Cool.
I bought Fallen Order, but it's currently still downloading. So give it some time.
Yeah.
I just bought Astroneer today. And
Oh,
then my
yeah, it's on sale.
PlayStation decided to do that thing where it won't connect to controllers anymore.
No.
I hear a Sophie being feisty in the background.
Yeah, someone pulled up outside. I'm not worried about
Ah.
it. About the dog
Oh my
barking.
god, I just finished Avatar: The Last Airbender. Ooh,
Have you
so
never
good.
seen it before?
I saw it.
So good.
I saw, I think, only the first season when I was younger,
Mhm.
and then I remember really loving it, but then like losing it after season 2, and I bought the whole series, and I'm like,
Nice.
yes. And now I want to buy Legend of Korra because I'm like obsessed with the whole world. Love me some benders.
Korra's also like that whole series is a lot more adult than
Mhm.
the first
Well,
one is.
Well, I
They're
mean,
very good.
I suggested it to a friend of mine, and I'm like, listen, Avatar is a little bit childish, but like it really has some really great
Oh, yeah.
messages and like
Absolutely.
emotion down at the bottom, or down deep in it. So I'm excited to see that the more adult version of the sequel series.
Yeah.
See how
Yeah.
that pans out.
All
Love
right.
me some Aang.
So
Give me an arrow tattoo.
that is all the time
In time
we
for your
have.
wedding.
So that is all
Jess will be
the,
like,
So that's all the time we have for the game for this episode. So thank you everybody for joining us. We can go around and say our Twitter handles and all that stuff. Nick.
Hi, I'm Nick. I play Barty, and you can find me on all social media at Nico Figs, NIKOFIGS. Other than that, I'm just going to be binge watching Gargoyles on Disney Plus. So see you later.
Cool.
The
Hannah.
Mandalorian is really good.
I watched the
I'm
first
Hannah.
episode.
We can talk about that. I'm Hannah. You can find me on Twitter at Tinder Organic.
Nice, Drew.
I'm Drew Tillman, and you can find me on Twitter at cyber_Sasquatch. And you can also find me on several other various shows like the Corpses and Curios side projects, where I play Edgelord / Shinji / Finn. Really kind of depends on what's happening in the game at the time. I've also appeared on other weird places as voices. And I'm going to try to convince the TI crew to do a weird side project thing.
All right.
That's my new goal.
And I'm Bucky. I'm the DM of this show. You can't find me anywhere online because I'm not on anything online. But yeah, you
How
can
dare
find me
you.
here. Yeah, I know. I'm getting away from the internet. How dare I try and get off the grid? So yeah, you can.
As he
find
says
me...
it into the internet right now.
Google already owns it.
They do. I downloaded that data. It's terrifying. So yeah, you can find me here as the DM. That's about it. And then of course Josh and Morgan aren't here. They're often somewhere in the United States doing a thing. But if you want to follow
West
Josh,
Virginia.
yeah.
Mountain Mama.
If you want to follow Josh, you can't follow Josh anywhere also because he's also off the grid. But if you want to follow Morgan, you can follow her at Thistleraven on Twitter. And you can see all the fun stuff that she posts over there. So yeah, thank you everybody for joining us. And remember, relationships good.
Yeah, and like we say,
Unless they
every
suck.
Unless
Talking
they're bad
Initiative,
and consent.
keep it cheesy and a little bit sleazy,
Yeah.
right?
Do we say that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we
And
do now.
good